one of the things that Ghana highlighted quite strongly was the impression that some of these protests were state-sanctioned, particularly because you have police shepherding a number of individuals as they protest. And in some instances, there were scuffles that broke out. There were confrontations with citizens in the presence of police. And Ghana did say, well, how does this work? And we said, in our system, you have to ensure that the protest is peaceful. And police are there to maintain peace. Where there's criminality or any process that unfolds which is unlawful, police have gone on to then act in a manner that we expect of them. So, for example, you would have seen 69 arrests in the Western Cape, Jeffreys Bay, of people looting, a number of violations, of criminal violations taking place there, and that's now current in the system. So we were able to say, look, this is not state-sanctioned, but also where people have gone beyond the scope of a lawful protest, there has been action, and there will continue to be action, because that's what we expect. People are not allowed to take the law into their own hands, but also they're not allowed to commit criminality, whilst raising a very valid issue that they believe the government should address. We were able to really have a robust discussion with our Nigerian counterparts. And part of the engagement focused on how we see the origins of the current protest that has taken place in South Africa around immigrants. And we highlighted the fact that the incident in Kukompo really did set out to really light a match around issues that have been long lingering amongst the citizens of South Africa, particularly when it pertains to the conduct of some, not all, Nigerian nationals. And this was an important discussion to have at that level. And the Nigerian counterparts understood this. You would recall that, in fact, the acting High Commissioner at the time, at the Kukompo incident, did really move fast to apologize and to de-escalate the matter. But one of the things that was quite clear is that this has been a sentiment that has been within the South African populace for some time. And at a bilateral level, it was high time that we had a very candid discussion about it. The Nigerian counterparts were very clear that they don't condone any acts of criminality by their own nationals and expect that our system would be able to process these individuals through the rule of law.
So that is DIRCO spokesperson Crispin Phiri speaking to us a bit earlier on. In the wake of the Minister Ronald Lamula's visit, in fact, it's a bit of a whistle-stop tour, isn't it, of West Africa, at least two countries. Last week he was in Ghana, and on Monday he was in Abuja in Nigeria. You will have heard there Crispin talking about the three concerns that were discussed in the meeting with the high-level delegation. It wasn't with the president. The Nigerian press is reporting that the president, Bola Tinubu, the word being used is declined to meet with the special envoy, being Minister Lamula, at this particular point while these issues are being debated. Minister Lamula, of course, is special envoy of President Ramaphosa on these matters as part of the 5-point plan revealed by the president on the 7th of June to manage issues of migration. It includes cooperation with countries in the region and across the continent. You will have heard those three issues that were discussed by the parties. Who remembers this? This was around March this year in Kukompo City, the crowning of a so-called king, Igbo king, which is not a person who is not recognized by the South African government. We're told that the part of the context laid out by Minister Lamula was to say that this has not helped the situation in a context in which South Africa is still also fighting, is still trying to understand and really clarify the role and status of kings in South Africa. That didn't help. Then you have the latest figures. We're told that as of the 7th of July or thereabouts, 500 plus Nigerians processed by the country's criminal justice system. The concern there is that, is the involvement of certain, and that's the word, certain foreign nationals in crimes such as organized crime, the trafficking in narcotics, as well as issues to do with general concerns around crime. And they're saying that a number of those people that have been caught in that dragnet are Nigerian nationals. And lastly, I do want to mention this, that has to do with hijacked buildings, where government in that meeting with the Nigerian delegation raised the issue of resistance or obstruction of law enforcement when they carry out operations, and specifically two areas being mentioned in that meeting being Hillbrow in Johannesburg as well as Sunnyside in Pretoria. We are told that was raised as part of the candid conversations that happened, that they say, according to DERCO, tend to taint the image of Nigerians in South Africa. I've spoken to this, issues around the 500 plus Nigerians that have been caught in the operations in the country. Let me quickly move on to the other position that the South African government says it made clear to their Nigerian counterparts: zero tolerance for xenophobic violence. That is a key message that the envoy has been trying to drive, Ronald Lamola, to say that despite everything you are seeing, we are absolutely clear that South Africa does not stand for xenophobia, homophobia, racism, and other prejudices. And therefore, law enforcement will be beefed up to ensure that people don't take the law into their own hands and seek to play police officer or officials of the Department of Home Affairs. That's part of the agenda that was being discussed. Then this comes to the fore as well. The key theme that seems to come to the fore around these visits, and you saw it last week around the visit to Ghana, for example, the message that says South Africa is a sovereign state and is entitled to enforce its immigration laws, as is Nigeria, as is Ghana. That message continues to be driven, and that whole drive for joint solutions, even as some of those countries are talking about raising this issue at African level, African Union level, and South Africa saying that it welcomes any moves for it to be debated more thoroughly. So that is part of what the work has been that has been carried out by Minister Ronald Lamola as special envoy. That's point number 5 of the 5-point plan unveiled by President Cyril Ramaphosa in response to concerns around irregular migration.